Hi, I'm Chris Reid, Managing Director and CEO of ASX 300 company Neometals.
Chris, good to see you. I know you're on the road. You're at the Battery Gigafactories USA conference in Washington, D.C., center of the universe. What are you there for?
So the Gigafactories.
USA.
Right. But what's you? Okay, you're an Aussie company with assets in Europe, so why bother?
Yeah, look, that's an interesting way to look at it. The other way to look at it is that we've at the core of our business is three technologies that produce greener battery materials. One of those that's highly relevant here is for the battery recycling. So you've got the IRA where they're going to spend trillions of dollars to assist the build out and the transition of the US from internal combustion to electric vehicles, right? So you've got the rate of cell production and EV production in the US now on steroids and on forecast to overtake the EU in 2031. And so they were a couple of years behind, and they're just going to fund it with money, money that they've printed presumably. And so I think the battery recycling for us, our products are the plants, and we're there to provide solutions. So today at the conference, I just said, well, we differ from. We had the guys from Lysical, and I said, well, we're different. We actually don't want to provide services and build our own plants. We will if we need to. But essentially, the SMS guys will build the plants. We'll use our exclusive access to get them into the market. The market in 2040 is going to need 20 million tons of recycling capacity. Globally, it's less than 1 million, right? And so, for us, we're saying to them, come to us. We can build you a plant, install it, commission it. You can get the lowest total cost of recycling, and we'll get a royalty.
And do you think they understand the need to do that? Because obviously they've moved from this whole just-in-time market strategy in terms of their buying of metals. They go to metal traders, buy what they want. Okay, now you're kind of moving into conversations around this huge burgeoning and ever-growing marketplace with ever-changing targets and deadlines and so forth. Do you think the penny's dropped yet in terms of the contribution that recycling has to make in that mix?
Well, yeah, look, I think, for the first time that they're actually worried about the fuel, and the fuel is the batteries and the battery materials. So the penny has dropped. And, I guess as they look forward, you can see looming deficits in lithium, nickel and cobalt. They'll also go into deficit because there hasn't been the investment. I think, they don't realize that the timeframes in just about all countries and the geopolitical, the local regulatory environment, ESG, is making it harder to develop mines. So on average, they were 7 years. Some could be 7 to 10 years in certain jurisdictions. You just can't turn them on and solve a problem. And I see these guys, and they've got this, the US, this great big checkbook. And they're like, yeah, well, tell us what to do, and we'll do it. And I'm like, well, mate, you can't buy time, right? Like the Chinese were doing this 10 years, right, before, they were doing this in the late 2000s, picking up assets, investing in assets, looking for offtakes to enable this transition. And, unfortunately, the Western car makers haven't, and, have had to try to fiscally stimulate. But that's okay. We can build more mines, and there's lots of mines that are on the planet, but they don't happen overnight.
They don't. If you refer to the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, it's caused over 130 billion bucks worth of investments into electric vehicles and batteries. The mining side of things not yet benefiting from that desire. Permitting is still an issue in many states. Access to capital is still a problem in many for many companies of varying sizes. So it seems it's still a little bit disjointed. I mean, what were you hearing there? There was a lot of politicians, a lot of senators there, a lot of government departments there. So what's your feeling in terms of this coming together at some point? And, you guys as you're massive kind of recyclers in that whole process, that whole story, are you considered part of the solution? Do they actually understand the moving parts?
Yeah, I think, look, Europe has probably given them a good leading light in terms of the regulations that you need to reduce the pain, i.e., if there's nothing that the EU can do about the forecast material shortages, right, in respect of its own resources. So it's legislated then to, have minimum recycled content, compulsory recycling, minimum local product, everything to try to recycle and harvest what's already in the country. So that is a sure way. So I think the combination, the Americans have clearly got the carrot out the front end, but I think you also have to use the stick at the other end and penalise for not moving quick enough.
Right, and with regards to again, like I said, I wasn't being glib or anything with regards to an Aussie company with European assets in the US, and you've explained that you've got products that you can sell into the US market, but there's a lot of Aussies there, and Aussies are being sort of, I understand it, being seen as a friendly, a foreign entity, which they're happy to do business with. I guess there's also the other side of that, foreign entities of concern, which they don't want to do business with. So again, was there much conversation around how you get to do business with the States, how you qualify as a company, let alone a country?
Yeah, look, especially Australia has had a free trade agreement with the US since the 2000s. So that hasn't been an issue. Obviously, we've been allies for well over a century. So yes, and that was a word that was used a lot. So they had Joe Manchin and all this, and guys, and we're looking on our allies. And I thought, oh, okay, fair enough. I mean, to be perfectly honest, the lithium is going to come from its allies and the South American countries. I'm not sure how allied they are with them, but certainly Canada and Australia can deliver spodumene cons. And I talked to lithium producers yesterday who in doomsday scenario are looking at bringing Australian spodumene into the US.
It's interesting. And we're also hearing from a few rare earth, Aussie rare earth companies as well. Just taking that lead. Allies is a very strong word. It's very, very combative as far as China's concerned, I'm sure. But there's money to be had, as you say, they're printing money, and it's a question of how companies insert themselves into that ecosystem that I'm intrigued by. So you're going to, I assume you're going to leave this conference with some confidence about the continuing positive narrative, and more importantly, the allocation of capital by the US. Yes, you've got some products to offer there, but what's happening back home in Europe? There's a big ecosystem there too.
Yeah, look, I think, my big takeaway here is that these guys are coming hard and fast. And for us, that means more production scrap, in the cell making and more end of life. I think that was one of the things that surprised us in Europe is the volume of end of life. We're talking, car crashes. You get a traditional, 1% car crash rate, significant volume. Warranty returns, and just end of life from use, because the life of the battery is really how many charging cycles it can do, right? And if you've got a taxi and you're fast charging your Tesla three times a day, it's not going to last that long, right? You're going to get 800 and something days out of it. So nothing against Tesla, fantastic cars. So yeah, it's in Europe. They've got the regulations first, and then they've done the Critical Raw Materials Act. You have a look at the IRA. That was written by legislators for companies. When you have a look at the Critical Raw Materials Act, it's written by legislators for legislators. So they'll take that big overarching EU, and then they'll have to deploy it in each of the member countries. So, people are saying, well, in Europe, how quickly are they going to, how are they going to get the money out there, and how are they going to do it quickly? So, in the first instance, it's going to the EIB, and you can loan the money from the EIB. So we're working with the EIB on the cornerstone debt for our vanadium project, and they've been really good to deal with. We've just had them up along with the rest of the banking syndicate and the proposed equity guys over the last couple of days up in Finland, and they're diligent. But the beauty about it is it's pretty covenant light. They're not needing any price risk removed, so we don't have to enter into long-term forward sales, at discounts to market. So that's fantastic. And so I think that Critical Raw Material Act will be just a second wave, and so the US has gone with the money first to try to incentivize the market to do it, and then presumably will bring in a national battery regulations, but more volume. It's fantastic, right? Like Europe in front, and these guys coming hard. So you've got two massive markets, and the EU and North America will be number 2 and 3 in terms of the world market for us.
And how do you see this again, just in terms of the kind of commercial aspect of this? Like, I think, whatever your business model is, it's imitable, but you're kind of got first mover advantage going on there, right? Then you talked about
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any other competitor. They're all doing recycling as a service, and they're all doing it for different reasons. Some because they're cathode producers and they want to be integrated. Some because they're commodity traders and they need to offer recycled product and their customers a path to lower carbon, going forward. Then we've got, our American competitors who have gone for scale first, scale that I don't think is justified to start off with, but hey, I could be wrong. They're trying to do it all themselves and buy batteries, and we talk to the car makers, and the car makers are like, I don't want to sell my batteries. I want my materials back so I can sell new cars that have new batteries in them.
No, and I get that. Like, and like, there's potentially if they are potentially value destruction there by kind of raising capital, build big infrastructures where they think they can go and get the feedstock in perpetuity. There could be a problem coming down the line if, as you say, the car manufacturers say, well, actually, we want to continue to own the materials in that battery. We'd rather do a deal something like akin to what you were suggesting, which is so you use your technology, you build the plant, you recycle, and we'll kind of split some sort of economic agreement with that. Absolutely, right. So that kind of makes sense. And do you think that you've obviously got that big deal with Mercedes in Germany, helping back. That's great. That relationship for you. So what is the term there? I mean, how long is that relationship for? I mean, is there an end date, or is it?
So look, the collaboration with Mercedes-Benz on the R&D side was 5 years. So for us, a key part of that is the plant supply for them. So yeah, we've ordered the long lead items because we've got to maintain our delivery schedules, and we're literally just waiting for the exchange of the paperwork.
Right, but I was thinking more in terms of how do you maintain the economic value of that relationship, because obviously the in is your technology, it works, it meets their criteria. 2 is that you can with your other partners build the facilities to do it. But if if this kind of runs and runs, life of mine in mining parlance, if this thing keeps running, how long, what are the economics look like?
Oh, okay. So look, each plant will be able to run for 20 years, no doubt, and probably longer, right? So the idea is to embed yourself in the supply chain and then grow with demand, which is exactly what we did in lithium. And if you get use and you provide a high quality service, then you get to grow with them. And, being picked as their technology partner, it speaks volumes about the process. Do they have a very exacting standard? Well, you can imagine when you go and buy a Mercedes, it's an exacting standard car. That's exactly how they run their business. Now, what's the upshot? The upshot for us, is that our product, and that's our advantage is that we can supply more and more plants because we've got a partner who is in the business of building plants. Now, all of our competitors want to do it themselves. They don't want to build plants for third parties, right? We want to. Can we operate them in a joint venture or provide a recycling as a service? Yeah, of course we can. right? But you got to build up big teams and that sort of stuff. So, like, we're happy to do that for the first plant to work in with Stelco, because Stelco have got plans to provide a whole continent solution for North America in the field of end-of-life car recycling, and the batteries attached to that. But, we're going to need to build lots of plants. We need to have competitors. We, like the opportunity, and we just need to build out that capacity.
Well, Chris, I wish you well at the rest of the conference. I know it still hasn't finished. You've got to get back out there, pound the streets, you press the flash, etc. Let us know how you get on when you get back to base, okay?
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Matt. Have a great day.